I'll never forget the day my peaceful little life turned into a full-blown, small-town legal thriller. You ever wake up and realize you're the main character in a story you never asked for? Yeah, that happened to me. Except my story began with a bulldozer at 7 in the morning and ended with the HOA president in handcuffs. Wild, right? Buckle up. This ride gets bumpy. Let me back up a second. I bought my lakeside cabin because I wanted quiet, just birds, breeze, and the soft slosh of water against the shore. That morning, instead, I heard something that made my coffee mug rattle across the pine kitchen table, a deep, metallic growl. Not wildlife, not a neighbor's old truck, but something way bigger and meaner. I shuffled to the window, half dreading what I'd find. And there it was, a bulldozer parked on the edge of my land, paint bright yellow against all that calm green. Black smoke puffed from its exhaust like it was warming up to eat something. And standing there with her arms crossed and her lips puckered tighter than a catfish's behind, was Karen, our HOA president. I use president loosely. Karen ruled our patch of lakeside like a queen who never quite got over not making prom court. Beside her, Bob, her husband. The guy walks like he's hauling a watermelon under his shirt, always first belly into any room. Bob's got that look, too, like he's never been wrong about a thing in his life. I'm not saying they're villains, but if you saw them in a Disney movie, you'd know which side of the plot they'd end up on. I yanked on my boots and stormed outside, screen door banging behind me. The air was cool, but I was already boiling. "What the hell are you doing, Karen?" I shouted, not bothering to play nice. She turned real slow, that plastic smile curdling on her face. "Oh, good morning, Mark. Just starting the new community beautification project." She said community like she'd just learned the word. Bob folded his arms, chest out. "That's right. Big improvements coming. You should be thanking us." My fence wasn't much, just a plain split rail, but it was the line between my sanity and the world outside. It kept things out, and it kept the peace in, especially for Leo, my best friend, who was staying with me. He was recovering from a bad car crash and needed quiet, real, deep-down peace. That fence was his shield. "You're not touching my fence," I said, dead serious. "This is my property." Karen let out this high-pitched laugh, like a kettle just before it boils over. "Oh, Mark, you should read your HOA bylaws. Article 7, Section 4. The Aesthetic Committee can alter structures for the community's good. Your rickety fence is an eyesore. It's coming down." Thing is, I had read the bylaws, front to back. Karen was twisting those words so far out of shape they should have filed a restraining order. "That's for common areas, Karen, not private property." Bob lumbered forward, puffed up. "Are you a lawyer?" Karen's president. "What she says goes. Now, be a good neighbor and get back inside before you get in the way." The guy in the bulldozer looked at Karen. She nodded. The engine roared, the scoop dropped, and I swear my heart stopped. I wanted to tackle Bob right then, but looking at Karen's eyes, I realized that's exactly what she wanted. Me, losing my cool. So she could call the cops and play victim. It was a setup. So, I did the only thing that made sense. I took a deep breath, relaxed my fists, shrugged, and played the fool. "Whatever, it's just a fence," I said, voice flat. Karen's face lit up like she'd just won a game show. Bob grunted approval. I turned away, walked back inside, and shut the door as the bulldozer tore my fence to pieces. Every snap of what felt like a gut punch. But as I leaned against the door, my mind was already spinning. They wanted a war. I'd give them one, but not the kind they expected. I pulled out my phone and started filming through the window. Every minute, every laugh, every inch of trespass, documented. They thought they were just tearing down a fence. They didn't know they were digging their own grave. See, this wasn't just about a fence. It was about Leo. He'd lost so much already. His hand barely worked. His music was on hold, and peace was all he wanted. When I bought the cabin, it was for him as much as for me. For months, we had quiet. Leo would sit on the porch doing therapy exercises, slowly coaxing his fingers back to life. It was our fortress. My run-ins with Karen before this were weird but minor. A welcome basket stuffed with HOA rules. No cake, no wine. Just rules about what color you can paint your house. Karen and Bob patrolled the neighborhood in their golf cart, looking for trouble or inventing it. I kept my head down, mowed the lawn, painted my shed the approved lakeside taupe. I was playing along for Leo's sake. But then there was Louis. Old-timer, lived a couple cabins down. Wiry, retired, spent his days fishing and tinkering with engines. He came over one day, beer in hand, eyed my taupe shed, and said, "She got to you with the beige paint, huh?" We both laughed, but then his face turned serious. "She counts on you giving in, son. A little fine here, a little warning there. People have lives. They can't fight every blade of grass. But every time she wins, she gets bolder." He leaned in, voice low. "You watch out. She's a snake in the grass. A well-manicured grass, but still a snake." Louis told me about a family forced to tear down their kid's treehouse for aesthetics. About an old widow fined every week because arthritis made her slow to move her trash can. Always the same ending, Karen wins. And Bob. He once screamed at a kid for skateboarding, red-faced, spitting, until the poor teenager ran off. Bob strutted back like he'd defended the Alamo. Karen and Bob fed off being feared. So when I saw that bulldozer, I saw more than a machine. I saw every petty, cruel story Louis told me. This wasn't about beautification. I'd seen the new pier being built for the community, and I'd noticed survey stakes. My property was the only flat, easy path to the lake. This was about Karen and Bob getting their own private lake access. Community project, my foot. Letting them think they'd won wasn't weakness, it was strategy. If I'd started a fight, Leo would be caught in the middle. I needed something better than a fist fight. I needed proof. So, while they built their path, I collected evidence. That night, I ordered trail cams. The next day, I installed them all along the new path. Sure enough, the only people using it were Karen and Bob. Beach towels in the morning, wine glasses at sunset. Their own promenade, paid for by us, on my land, and overprotected preservation land. Leo worried about me, about all the plotting. "It's just a path," he said. "Let it go." "It's not just a path," I said. "It's the principle. They can't just take what they want." As the days went by, the fines started. My grass was too high by a quarter inch. My trash can was visible for 3 hours too long. Moss on my roof, a violation. Each notice more ridiculous than the last. I didn't pay a dime. I saved everything in a binder I labeled Karen. For every bogus violation, I added another piece to the case I was building. Digging into HOA finances, I found something fishy. Superior Scapes LLC was being paid $90,000 over 3 years for landscaping. The company was a P.O. box. Guess who was listed as the owner? Bob. I walked the common areas. Their work was a joke. Patchy grass, dying flowers. Most of the money was going straight to Karen and Bob. But here's where it really twisted. The HOA treasurer? Sweet old Mildred, barely 5 feet tall, always knitting at meetings. Turns out, Mildred's Karen's mother. So, the whole board, Karen, her husband, her mom, was one family business. The HOA wasn't corrupt, it was a cartel. I started to understand. Bob's old boat business had crashed, big bankruptcy. So now they were draining the HOA to keep their heads above water. Every time someone paid a fine or painted a shed, they were keeping the con alive. Suddenly, my fence was a threat. If one person said no, others might too. Their whole world could crumble. Still, I needed more. I needed the smoking gun. Louis mentioned Karen kept an old-school filing cabinet in the clubhouse office. With a little recon and a lot of nerves, I waited until the cleaning crew came by on Wednesday night, slipped in through a window, and picked the lock. Inside, I found what I needed, a real ledger, not the sanitized, typed-up records. That's when I saw something even uglier than I'd expected. Page after page, insurance payouts, boathouse fire, pool house, vandalism, huge checks, tiny actual repairs, the rest pocketed. They weren't just stealing fees. They were torching community property for cash. Arson, fraud, you name it. Suddenly, headlights swept through the window. I froze, heart pounding, as Bob walked into the clubhouse. He didn't come for the files, just looking for his keys, muttering to himself. I slipped out the window, back into the darkness, clutching the evidence to my chest. Back in my kitchen, Leo stared at me as I laid the ledger on the table. "They burned it," he whispered, looking at the numbers. "They're monsters," I said. And for the first time, I really meant it. I knew what I had to do. I made copies of everything, scanned, encrypted, and shared with my lawyer, a reporter, and trusted neighbors. I reached out to the families Karen had bullied. At first, they were scared, But when I told them about the evidence, that fear turned to anger. I called the county sheriff's non-emergency line, just in case. 3 weeks later, the HOA's annual picnic rolled around. Karen, in her best white pantsuit, was holding court, Bob trailing behind, the air thick with forced cheer. Louis helped me swap the clubhouse projector cable for mine. The crowd was restless, hot dogs in hand, waiting for Karen's speech. She launched into her usual performance, strong finances, successful projects, and so on. When she finally opened the floor for questions, I stood up and walked to the front. Karen, can we go over the budget? With a visual aid? I plugged in my laptop. The screen lit up with a photo of her handwritten ledger, insurance fraud, Bob's shell company, everything. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Karen tried to shout me down, but every slide made her smaller, Bob's face redder. Bob lunged at me, but Louis tripped him with his cane. Karen made a desperate grab for my laptop, but I stepped back. Too late, Karen, I said. The sheriff has a copy. The reporter does too. And the whole town's watching. The police rolled up right then. Karen and Bob, taken away in cuffs, their kingdom toppled. Mildred cracked, confessed everything. The story made headlines. The HOA was dissolved. The money returned. The concrete path ripped up and grass reseeded. Louis became president, and his first act was to abolish the flower color rules. Weeks later, I rebuilt my fence, stronger, taller. Leo played his guitar on the porch, the air peaceful again. I realized the line between law and revenge is all about motive. I wasn't just out for myself. I wanted justice for everyone Karen and Bob had hurt. So let me ask you, where do you draw that line? Would you have gone as far as I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Stories about justice, revenge, or that one neighbor who pushed you too far. Let's hear it. And hey, share this with someone who needs a reminder. Sometimes the good guys win.